Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. My name is Chinmoy. I am a principal solution engineer and currently working for Microsoft. The purpose of this video is to give you an idea how you can get into a senior level role at AWS, Microsoft, or any FAANG companies. The FAANG companies nowadays is called MANG companies or Mango companies, whatever you call it. But the purpose is that how you can get into a senior role in these big tech companies. Okay. I saw a lot of videos and content on the coding interview guidance, at a junior level, but I did not see more content on how you can land on a senior level role. Okay, so let's get started. So here, the kind of a senior role we will be discussing primarily is that senior SDE, principal architect, senior TPM, or some kind of an engineering manager. Okay. The first one, we talk about this what senior really means. So senior is not just 10 years of experience or 20 years of experience and things like that. At the senior level, the companies look for certain kind of signals. Okay, the first one is the technical scope here. uh, you you should have some technical depth, system level thinking, and nowadays working with the AI. Next one is the leadership kind of an quality, the ownership, mentorship, influence without authority. Next one is the judgment and impact. So ambiguous problems, communication, business impact, and things like that. So if you have this kind of an capability or skills, then you are good for a senior level role. At least these big companies will look for this kind of qualities in a person for a senior level role. Let's move on. So in a project, for example, at Microsoft, they are taking some senior resources for say ADX, right? Now, for a junior engineer says, I implemented this. At a senior level, I identified the problem, I evaluated three approaches, I designed the architecture, I worked across multiple teams. You understand, right? So these are the kind of a response that the interviewer will be looking for when you are interviewing for a senior level role. Next one is the senior is not a number of years. Seniority actually determined by the level of impact you have on your organization. So you can pick any target role that you prefer: senior software engineer role, principal cloud architect role, senior TPM role, engineering manager role. These are all senior level roles. And then um, the information or the knowledge, you should have some kind of a distributed system. You need to have some knowledge, security, AI, ML, leadership, customer engagement, program management. These are the things that interviewer will look for into the candidate. So choose the role first and choose the company second. So the role is the key. Okay, so you just need to ask question, what is the role you want to play? Do you want to play a senior engineering role? Do you want to play a role of a senior engineering manager? Do you want to play a role as say customer success account manager, account executives, and things like that? Once you decide the role, then you choose how to prepare for that role. Okay, so choosing the role is very important, and that is your step one. Then once you identify the role, then how you build senior level of expertise for that role. You need to have some understanding about scalability, about availability, reliability, security, networking, databases, caching, messaging. You need to have this kind of an understanding for a senior level role. And then also you need to have some observability, DR, and cost optimization. You need to have this kind of knowledge in order to get into a role with senior level for the big tech companies. Then technology knowledge is not architecture thinking. So this is important, right? You can have you may be good at Java, or you may be good at Python, you may be good at front end, you may be good at back end, but that is not architecture thinking. This is not the senior level resources. I mean, the people who want architecture kind of a knowledge, not just technology related knowledge. Okay, so practice on the real systems, um, like you you may look at the design of the Netflix or Uber, a global e-commerce platform, or a highly available payment system. You just don't draw boxes. Then you explain why you used certain databases, why you used SQL databases versus no SQL databases, versus any document databases and things like that. How it is going to scale. Today that application is working for 100 users, but tomorrow if the number of users become 1 million, how your application is going to scale, right? How your application going to behave in one of the region goes down. So these are the questions that the interviewer will be asking you in order to understand your depth on that system and how you as an architect think of that particular situation. Next point is the resume. Okay, how you are going to build your resume. You can write, okay, I worked with AWS, I worked with Azure, I worked with GCP and things like that. But it will be a much better story if you just say that, hey, this is my impact story, right? Designed and automated highly available Azure platform supporting 14 plus applications, cutting deployment time by 70%. So these are the kind of information the recruiter and the interviewer will be looking for in your resume. So build your resume accordingly. Not just, hey, I worked on Java on these years. That is not enough. So if you are targeting a big tech company in a senior role, your resume needs to be updated accordingly. Next one is the for every major project, you should be prepared to answer any follow-up question asked by the interviewer. What is the problem? What do you personally do? How complex the situation is? What are the other external resources you require? How did you communicate? And things like that. So these are very, very important information, and all this information should be part of your resume. Next one is the preparation. Okay, so you have got the role, you have built your capability, you created a resume. Next step 4 is the preparation, right? So the technical fundamentals, you need to just polish your technical fundamentals, like stack. And then if you are interviewing for any senior level engineer, you need to brush up your coding skill, system design skill, and behavioral and leadership skill. I will link some of the behavioral and leadership videos. So make sure that you check out this video at the end. and that person can give you a very, very good idea about the behavioral and leadership kind of an process. Your past experience, the bar raiser is actually a term for AWS, but this is you need to prepare for. And then you can build a system bank, a hard technical problem, production incident, disagreement with another team. Disagreement with another team brings me AWS leadership principles. One of the AWS leadership principle is disagree and commit. So the interviewer may ask you a question: walk me through a situation where you did not agree with your colleague or customer, and how did you handle the situation. So you need to have a very good story prepared to answer that question. Now, the story will vary depending on a junior role to a senior role. So make sure your story carries the weight of the role that you are applying for. So, and you need to formulate your answer in a STAR method, STAR, situation, problem, action, result. And then at the end, what I say that, okay, you also add that point that what I learned. So you start with some kind of a situation, what are the problem was, what are the actions you took, and what are the result at the end, and what you learned from that situation. So this is a very, very effective, some kind of an framework, and you can follow this framework to answer all of your question asked by the interviewer. So this is for the preparation piece. Next, we move on like your thinking, like, right? So you are applying for a senior level role. You're not applying for a junior coder or junior role. So the interviewer will be expecting that you think like a business leader. So engineer framing is that the solution is technically better, but the senior framing, this improves reliability, reduces operational overhead, saves around the cost. Obviously, is a big factor for any CEOs or any CXOs in any company, right? So you should be speaking the language of a CXOs, not just a junior programmer. So this is your step number 5. Your the 7, when you say that, okay, things like a leader, you need to talk about regarding these topics like cost, risk, customer impact, time to market, reliability, security, operational complexity. So each and every big tech companies, say GCP, AWS, Microsoft, everywhere they have the well architected framework. I will put that link in the description box. You can go and look at that, the well architected framework, and what are the things you need to consider as an architect or as a senior resource. So please make sure that, okay, you go through all those pillars, and when you talk in front of the interview, you talk in this language by which you can position yourself as a senior person, not just as a junior person. So this is another thing, that technology exists to solve business problems. So you need to tie your story based on some business problems, right? So all the senior level roles, you are expected to solve some business problems, right? So all your knowledge, all your stories should be tied to a real life business problems. So prepare your story accordingly. Next one is the networking. Networking is very, very important. It's not optional. If you know someone for any companies, LinkedIn or anywhere, feel free to connect with them. You take their guidance. If you do not have a mentor, try to find out a mentor. and then take their guidance. You share your goal in your career, and listen to your mentor how they guide you to achieve your goal. So and once you have all those proper network, follow their work and their teams, ask intelligence specific questions, get all the information from them, and better prepare for your interview. So this is very important. Everybody asks for a referral. I am open to refer. I'll be happy to refer anyone in Microsoft, right? But having said that, the referral gets your resume looked at, right? But this does not replace the interview. Very important. So if you reach out to me, I'll be happy to refer you. Once I refer you, the recruiter will take a look at your resume, but that does not replace the interview. Still, you need to go through the interview. And when you appear for the interview, please be prepared. Know what are the questions the interviewer can ask. Bridge your technical depth, brush your coding knowledge if you are applying for any coding related role and things like that. So the referral gets you the resume looked at, but still you need to go through the interview process. Keep this thing in mind. And the last thing I would say is the certifications, and this is very important. When I say certifications, it definitely helps you to understand the architecture. For example, if you have that AWS Solution Architect Professional certification or Azure Solution Architect Expert certification, you have your understanding as an architect, right? But only certifications won't give you a job, okay? Certifications are good, and it is good to have kind of a thing. A lot of companies, the certifications are mandatory, but the big tech companies, the certifications are not mandatory. Some of the roles which may have some certification mandatory, but not for all the roles. Now, if you go for certifications, the focus is to gain the knowledge, gain understand the cloud environment on Azure or AWS or GCP, and then you choose which certificate you help you, and prepare for that certification and get that certification done. Having said that, it does not necessarily mean that you go and pass all the certification. That's not the goal, even though some people does that. A lot of folks has done all the certifications of Azure, all the certifications from AWS, all the certifications from GCP. If you can do that, is definitely good. But I won't say that that's a requirement. These certifications can give you a very good information, can bridge your the knowledge that you require for a senior level role, but these are not mandatory. And as here, don't overdo it, particularly in the cloud architecture roles, and the AI these days. You need to have some kind of an AI fundamental certification or some understanding about the AI, real projects impact. That would definitely help to prepare for this interview process. Okay. So if you're targeting AWS, Microsoft in a senior level role or any big tech companies, I hope these steps help you. If you need anything from me, let me know. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comment section. You can connect me on the LinkedIn. And if you need a referral, reach out to me. I'll be happy to refer you in Microsoft. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.